So kind of give us your 10,000-foot view right now. Here, I guess we're about 5 hours from tip-off.
Yeah, gentlemen, appreciate you having me on as always. But there's a big tilt going down tonight at Colonial Life Arena. Despite Kim Mulkey's record against Dawn Staley in South Carolina, this is still a big game, gentlemen. It's LSU enters undefeated, right, with 2-star players, 2 Naismith Player of the Year nominees, and Flau'jae Johnson and Anisha Morrow. So, and they're going to be up against South Carolina's depth. South Carolina brings in the best depth of the country. And Dawn was talking about it post game at OU, and I'm sure we'll break into that as well. But this is a very, very big tilt, boys. And it's for the lead of the SEC right now. And the SEC, I mean, based on how South Carolina's January has been, playing 5 straight ranked teams in the month of January in conference. It goes to show you how powerful this SEC has been this year. So this game determines quite a bit. And for the Gamecocks' sake, thank God it's at home. Because CLA is going to be jumping, despite having it moved from last night. And, it's unfortunate, that you couldn't have game day and, the later tip-off and more eyes on you. But I still think tonight's going to be jam-packed in CLA, and people are going to get out there early to support the Gamecocks.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest games of the year. I mean, it's one you circle. And Dawn's program plays a lot of tough teams. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, they've played at UCLA earlier this year and took an L. I have a theory that actually helped them a little bit because – hard to go undefeated in basketball. You got real nervous. I mean, I got real nervous last year because they didn't lose. And it's like, well, even on the men's side, there's many a year. It's not as rare on the women's side to go undefeated. Yeah. I will say that. But I remember UNLV Duke when I was a kid. I remember Wisconsin beating Kentucky a couple of years ago, both undefeated teams that went down. And I think since that loss, Joe, and you mentioned the SEC, and I don't know if anybody wants to hear that, oh, by the way, women's basketball's back in this league because it used to be the best league by far, kind of like baseball and stuff. Kind of hit a lull for a while, kind of Gamecocks and who else. Now it looks back, especially with Texas and Oklahoma coming in. It is brutal, but I do want to say this. I saw like Monday night, Texas played Maryland, 8th ranked team in the country in a non-conference game. Now Maryland's gone on to lose again. Beat them 89-51. Yeah. That's a team Carolina handled pretty well at the Colonial Life Arena just a couple of weeks ago. So would you say that since that loss to UCLA, I mean, they've really gradually gotten better and better and kind of, right here in conference play, peaking at the right time?
Yeah, most certainly, JC. This team is playing really, really, really good basketball right now. You look at that Oklahoma win against the number 13th ranked team in the country, bringing in one of the best post players in the country. When South Carolina is missing Ashlyn Watkins, they beat that team by 50 points. Like it's pretty impressive what they did at CLA to OU. And that also goes to show you, the atmosphere. The atmosphere was such a big talking point from OU after that game and how jam-packed CLA is. And, I go back to the home opener this season, right? A sellout on a Tuesday night goes to show you, that South Carolina fans care a lot about this women's basketball team. And I expect, the atmosphere to be really, really good tonight and play into it. LSU is one of those teams that, they've seen the lights. They've played with a lot more people in the building. So they're going to be ready for it. But, man, it's like when the DJ gets going in CLA and the fans really get into it, it makes it awfully hard to claw back at a lead or hold on to one when, Dawn's crew is, shooting super efficient on offense. I mean, JC, they've shot about 50%, like right around 50% since the UCLA loss. Like they've made just about half their shots. And then they also have, 9 players, with more than or averaging 5 or more points, right? The depth on this team is ridiculous. They're super deep. Dawn's teams have always been deep, but I mean, this team in particular is uber deep, especially when you're missing Ashlyn Watkins. Like it's opened up a variety of different windows for different players to get involved and whatnot. But yeah, this team is really, really good, JC. And that UCLA loss certainly helped in one way or another.
Yeah, sometimes an early one's a good wake-up call, right, Joe? So yeah, but no, I'm glad you brought up Ashlyn Watkins because who's filling that role? What are we looking for tonight as somebody to be that 5, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sanaya Fagan's really been stepping up. I was talking about this on the radio a little bit earlier. Having Ashlyn Watkins out, it is opening up areas of other post players' games that probably haven't been unlocked since like high school. Right? They haven't been called upon to be the star player yet at South Carolina, and so with more wiggle room in the rotation, players are being asked to step up more. So the five, or I guess the post presence that you should expect to see tonight, is going to come a lot from Sanaya Fagan. It's going to come a lot from Chloe Kitts, and then Joyce Edwards. Expect a big defensive game from her. We haven't really seen, tremendous defensive performances from Joyce, but then she also hasn't been bad either. You got to remember, she's a true freshman. She's leading the team in scoring, so she's doing a lot on the offensive end already. But that defensive end, we're going to see a lot of tuning up from Joyce. I expect to see it. But yeah, it's the main three forwards, and then you've got Miriam Dowda and Adele Tack kind of building up the back half of that rotation. Dowd is interesting because she can shoot the three ball. Dawn has been giving her, a lot more run because, Dowda can space the floor a little bit more. And, early on in the season, she wasn't quite making them. But I think now towards this tail end, you want her to be making a lot more. And, a three shooting big at the tail end of your rotation is lethal. When the other team is on the tail end of their rotation and Dawn sends in the stretch four, that's how they put away games. And also, this team shares the rock. So a lot to love going up against this LSU team who's kind of top heavy with Morrow and Johnson.
Yeah. Is that talent? Is the depth really the most glaring advantage that the women's team have coming into tonight? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because Raven Johnson, your starting point guard's averaging 5.4 points a game, and Joyce averaging 12-1. Like I said, you've got nine scores that average more than 5 a game. When you have guards that can come off and do that, and it can be anybody's night too. And they are really, really, really tight knit. I think that kind of shows you the shooting percentage numbers. They're taking good shots. They want to set each other up to take better shots, not look bad, right? And so, when the depth is playing cohesively and nobody really thinks I need to be starting, I need to be getting those kind of minutes, they know their chance is going to come to them. That's everything you want and more. And, kind of after that Oklahoma when, Dawn, she's like, I don't want to, get complacent or anything. Essentially, she's like, but that's the best I've seen my team play all year. And so when you can put 50 points or hang a 50-point win on the number 13 ranked team in the country, that's saying something. They've got a lot of momentum right now. And again, this game's at CLA. They've got their home fans behind them. It's something they didn't get to play at home a whole lot in the non-con. So this game, the energy is going to be there for sure.
Absolutely. That's one of the great things about this program too, is it, like I said, it's not just coaches here and winning, and it people are showing up because they're good. They've developed a fan base, it's different than the other sports. I know that because I'm in the Gamecock media, and traffic numbers and membership numbers, things like that. It's fundamentally different, the women's basketball, some of 60% or so. But that's a sign you got a program. It's kind of like, we all remember Tennessee and Pat Summitt. They have a 23,000 seat arena at Thompson Bowling in Knoxville. And back in the day, they used to fill it up for the Lady Vols, and they still do. They still get quite a bit. It's big time at some schools. And I think she's created that at South Carolina, just in a big picture way. But this program is dominant. This program, it's a shock. Every time they lose, it's a huge deal. Which is strange to say for basketball. You mentioned Joyce Edwards, and she obviously is a freshman from the Columbia area. Yeah. Obviously, a big time recruit. The Gamecocks beat LSU for her. It was LSU. There was Clemson was involved some. And then Malaysia Fulwiley came in last year, also a local product. There's great basketball talent, men's and women's, in Columbia. I did hear you and Brad talking about Malaysia, though. Yeah. Kind of a highlight reel type player to me. Oh, yeah. Love watching her play, love her game. How important is it for her tonight to play smooth, to play kind of in control and in her zone, as opposed to sometimes when, things aren't going well? Yeah. I don't want to call her streaky. I just want to say that, it's better when she's playing smooth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. JC, and she is a momentum player, right? When she is trying to force things, the momentum gets off, and she isn't herself on the offensive or defensive end. So you need her playing smooth tonight for sure on both ends of the basketball, offensively and defensively, because LSU is going to bring a lot at you, right? Flage and Morrow are going to play a lot, so it's going to be a constant pressure, constant barrage on that offensive end. So that's where that depth is going to come in handy, right? For South Carolina on the defensive end, right? You're going to have fresh legs to guard. And Full Wiley's no different, right? We've seen her defense was really on display against OU. These point guards love to rebound the basketball, not just Full Wiley, but Dawn's point guards have been rebounding the ball really, really well. But back to Full Wiley, to make a comparison to the men's game, I've been saying it all year. She reminds me a lot of Russell Westbrook, right? Just streaky, can do, just about whatever she wants with the basketball. Can get up, can do the reverses, can do all of, the Derrick Rose mid-range, kind of under the basket reverses and all that stuff. She's really, really, really talented with the basketball in her hands. And now we're starting to see, the defensive efforts ramp up because she knows, like, obviously you get excited when you're having a day on the offensive end and you're streaking it, making plays. Obviously you're starting to feel good. She's found a way to channel some of that energy into the defensive end of the basketball, and it's been paying off dividends. And then you brought up Edwards. Edwards, again, I'm going to bring it up. She's got to have a good night defensively tonight, or else, she's not going to get as involved on the offensive end because she won't be in as much. But I expect to see Joyce kind of elevate her game. We haven't really seen her, have the All-American defensive effort yet, but tonight could be one of those nights. Joyce has really been coming along on the defensive end as well.
Outstanding. Joe, so I hope you have a good time. Are you covering the game tonight for the website or no?
Yeah, I will be there. I'm a little banged up, dealing with a little bit of a cold, so I'll be masked up and everything and making sure people get away from it.
Yeah. Don't want to spread that.
Yeah, we do not need the big spur to be responsible for a little, coronavirus going through any of those teams. So
no.
I'm masking up, making sure every precaution and all that. And, obviously.
Sweet. Let's go. I got a couple things for you. Number one, you mentioned Derrick Rose. I think that's one of the biggest what ifs that he not gotten hurt in Chicago pro sports history. Yeah. What a player, and then just derailed.
Yeah.
And now the Bulls don't even try, but that's beside the point. What do you think about Ben Johnson getting the Bears job?
I'm happy, JC, as I'm sure you are. Touch on Derrick Rose. I had a girl ask me about Derrick Rose the other week, and I about started crying, man. Derrick Rose is my childhood. And I hate how Jerry Reinsdorf is doing 2 nights. Just retire his jersey on the first night. That is what it is. But he's bringing us back to see mediocre basketball 2 nights for Derrick Rose. Don't get me started. But
it's your money.
Yeah, right, exactly. Nothing brings the fans back like nostalgia. So, and Jerry loves to do that, especially with my White Sox, and that's a whole different. We don't have time for that. It's South Carolina show. I don't know. Ben Johnson, I think it's good. I don't no head coaching experience, so it could be either really good or really bad. And I really hope he's good because I'm tired of losing for my Bears fandom. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, offensive guru, we've been hiring coordinators left and right for the Bears, and it just hasn't really been panning out. So JC, it could go either way. I wonder how you think about it.
I've been watching the Bears for about 5 years, and bad offense, but this franchise has had bad offense for a long, long time. Yeah. So Ben's a little bit different type of hire. Yeah. If you really wanted to get weird, you could have gone and hired Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah,
who whipped his butt in the playoffs.
Yep.
But Ben, the thing I liked about it is that seemed to be like, how the fans at South Carolina, they'll lock on a guy that they want as a coach or at any school, and most of the time it doesn't work out. All the fans here locked on Ben Johnson as the guy they wanted, and they got him. So there's a sense of we got our guy, but we'll see what happens. I've been pretty positive about the Bears the last 2 preseasons. I love it. It's I get the rug jerked out from under me. But anyway, Joe, well, hey, man, hope you get to feeling better. Yeah. Great work this week. We'll all enjoy watching your coverage tonight from the Colonial Life Arena. And keep on keeping on with the walkthrough. Once again, everybody, the walkthrough live show on Tuesday nights. Chief Sports South Carolina YouTube page. It's also available in podcast form. If you are on Apple Podcast, it's on inside the Gamecocks stream. We have all our shows right there, including the walkthrough. And be sure if you want before the game, after we're off here, check out his interview with Brad Muller this week. It was great stuff. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on, and looking forward to talking some more women's hoops and maybe some Chicago Bears here down the line this spring.
Absolutely, my man. Take care, man.
Thanks, you guys.
Joe Macheca. Covers women's hoops for thebigspur.com. The walkthrough talks about it all, not just women's hoops, but really great interview. A lot of people watch that daggum Brad Muller interview.
That Muller one, was good. That's good.
It's what we call ran. So anyway, we had to get to Joe right away. Apologize for being late. That's my fault. I had to upload something about Shane Beamer's contract because I just couldn't let the commentary go for everybody that's here on our YouTube page. By the way, hit that subscribe button if you can. But Phil, doing well today. Happy it's Friday.
Oh yeah, man, we made it.
We made it through the week.
Crazy week up here this week.
Yeah, our first week of the new format.
Yeah, that's you know what, I've enjoyed it. It's been fun.
It's been good for me. The days that I have other stuff to do, like JC and Morgan are coming on the morning show, you know, maybe there's not much change, but these days like today, man, I just get so much more done.
Oh, I know. And it freed up JB to, you know, kind of make some moves yesterday.
Yeah.
It looked like they're going to be good moving forward for everybody here. Exciting.
It's a net positive, man.
Yeah, man.
And I think when you get older, you run out of hours in the day and all that good stuff. Not you folks out there in the audience, not that I don't enjoy talking to all of y'all, because I certainly do. And in the Nana's Porch chat box, we have all of our rowdy friends in here. Right. Frederick is always in with a good afternoon.
I love it.
Always rocking that. He's always
afternoon.
First.
Yeah.
And then Clint comes in, he says he's the inside the Gamecocks version of David Cloninger.
He really is. Because he's always the morning show too, man. He doesn't miss it, even though
Dave's right there.
Still there.
That first question, and when he doesn't have the first question, Beamer is usually like, "Where is Dave?"
Yeah, right.
It's tradition. And it's usually a pretty good question, really good question, right off the bat. So, yeah, but welcome in, Frederick. We always appreciate your kindness and wishing us good morning and good afternoon.
Yeah, man.
Bruin asks, is this another JC written song? Are you talking about Clowns Are People Too?
That's right. Yeah. Banger.
Oh, yeah, that is.
Nothing but straight
I'm
actually on ITG.
I'm actually proud of that one. We needed a new scroll song because YouTube decided, you know, I've been using the bagpipes song we had on the old show as the scroll because my job was to do the scroll. The scroll's not the intro, by the way, in case you guys think we have. I got this little smart ass one time posted when the chat box was open. The intro's just long and self-aggrandizing and egregious. And I'm like, that's because that whole thing is not the intro. We cut it off on the, if there's a way to cut it out of YouTube when people come back and watch it, we would, but we can't. But we cut that thing off on the podcast version and really don't really go. The intro is shorter too. I mean, we're not sitting here trying to waste everybody's time. What that's designed for is when we start that, everybody gets that asks for it on YouTube. You get a notification saying, hey, it's time for the show. If you got a notification when the actual show began and you moseyed on over, you may miss something.
Right. Yeah. A couple
minutes. What the scroll is, and the reason we put songs like that, and for the tailgate show, we put Mr. Bones. I mean, just random stuff. It's like when you're at the movies and it's before the previews start, right? There's those ads and the music, you know, like some local car dealership. Come on down to Terry Edwards Toyota, blah, 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 you know, or it doesn't even say anything. It's just a picture, you know. So that's the idea, is to get everybody in. And I wanted to explain that because if I'm listening at home and don't know any on YouTube on the app, I'm like, get on with the sports talk, people.
Go ahead.
You know, it's bad enough JC talks 35 minutes about Mayor McCheese from time to time.
That's why half of them are here.
Yeah, I mean, but I love it. So, but yeah, it's stuff that I put together because, when Phil and I used to do this, we'd be like, oh, clown show, a tongue cheek. And so clowns are people too.
That's right.
I've got some ideas with that one too for some like YouTube stuff with maybe Brett Oma or Ward Manuel.
Yeah, right. Oh, God,
I got some creative ideas with that.
Oh man, I just had a few run through my head with those two names together. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, all right.
People too.
Fire up the AI generators.
Yeah, got more coming up in this chat box because we got to get to a break right here. Going to talk a little NFL draft today, Phil.
Oh, nice.
Going through Beamer thinking about his accomplishments. I've been digging into this and I actually wrote it out. So I don't, because knowing me, I'd like talk about all the people that would be drafted and I'd leave out Nick Emanware something crazy like that. So I actually wrote it down so we can kind of dive into it. I think this could be a record draft for the Gamecocks as far as number of players selected. So we'll talk about that. The stupid list gets a new edition maybe today. I don't know if I'm gonna put it on the stupid list or not, but the Vegas over-under win total has been released by some stupid casino out there for the Gamecocks. It may surprise you. We will dig into Beamer's contract, men's basketball, a little recruiting. It's a junior day. They are two pretty good defensive linemen from D-line heaven, DNs from the state of North Carolina coming in. And we'll also talk about a potential problem in the state of North Carolina as far as recruiting goes. There is a problem, and it's a school, i.e. program, that I have mentioned on this show in this episode. We will be right back after these messages. Inside the Gamecocks, the show rolls on, brought to you by Right to Bear Insurance and our friend Perry Orth. Go to righttobear.com and check them out. See you on the other side. Inside the Gamecocks show.
Oh, man. The building is on fire.
Emergencies and accidents happen. When you're in the middle of a fire or water event, all you want is for things to return to normal as soon as possible. Resto Pros of the Midlands is with you, guiding you through the process and working with you to get your home or office back in working order. They'll answer your questions, discuss procedures, and can act as your advocate when it comes to processing your insurance claim. RestoProsMidlandsSC.com. Open 24/7 when you need them. Quality that is guaranteed.
Think about that old ride of yours. The carpools, the road trips, the heavy hauls, date nights, and the dings and the dents and sticky spills and cracker crumbs, and that smell that really never goes away. Do you really want to start the new year in the same old ride? Or is it time for a fresh start? Now's the time for incredible New Year's savings at Love Chevrolet on the entire lineup of award-winning vehicles. Love has more new Chevys on the lot than any other dealer in the Midlands, in the color, style, features you've been looking for. With New Year's savings and Love's famous low price guarantee, your new ride in 25 will be invigorating, exhilarating, and affordable too. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 at Harbison, and online at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
One brand. Two shows. The morning show. Weekdays from 10 a.m. until noon. The show from noon until 2 p.m. Go Gamecocks!
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks, the show. If you missed the morning show today, JB fired up his weekly visits with Coach Stuart Lake, talking about some baseball, looking ahead at the Diamond Sports. I know the press conferences, started at 11 o'clock for Coach Maneri, and got some really exciting players out there and a team at the on the baseball diamond that could make some noise. It's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds here on the 14th. Don't forget Gamecocks softball. Ashley Woodard, Chastain Woodard, most recently married, her first season. Of course, it's you might know this, JC, being a keeper of all knowledge. Gamecocks. Has there ever throughout any memorable time been a season where there was a head baseball coach and head softball coach starting in the same year? We couldn't come up with it. I don't think it is.
Because I don't know much about softball.
No, and Carolina's fortunate enough to have some pretty long runs in baseball coaches. So yeah, your opportunities there aren't necessarily really plentiful.
So I don't remember, but it was time to start anew in both of those sports.
Yeah,
there's no excuse for South Carolina not to be good.
No,
in baseball, I mean, has been first class for a long time. Softball, the state is a softball state. I mean, there's lots of athletes anywhere in the South. You've got good softball talent. You're close to Atlanta. I mean, which puts out a lot. I mean, there's no excuse not to be good. Now, everything's relative in the SEC because we were talking on Bill King. I was on Bill King's show Thursday, Phil, and we talked a little baseball, Carolina, what's Carolina going to be like, whatever. And then we brought up, like, we talked about Texas and Oklahoma coming in and how, maybe more even so than football, those two programs coming into the league makes baseball tougher, as if it was not tough enough. I mean, as sick as it is in men's basketball this year, it's been that way in baseball for like a while, a minute or two. And so, when even Vanderbilt puts a lot of money into the sport and has won national championships, that's a pretty solid league.
Yeah, right.
So, but we were talking about that, and then we brought up baseball, softball, and Bill just started laughing because of Oklahoma coming into the league.
Oh my goodness, I know.
I mean, here's my question though. I mean, I know they're great. I know they're the Rolls Royce. Why in the hell do they get to play the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City every single year?
Right. It's like a home game. Yeah.
Is it because they care? I mean, is that why? That's not fair at all.
No.
I mean, they need to change that. I mean, that's like if Creighton or Nebraska, and they've had good baseball teams in the past, but if those were like powerhouses in baseball for years and years and years, and they just decided, hey, we're going to just, and that's when they decided to have the College World Series in Omaha.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's got to change. I mean, especially if programs are going to start investing more in the sport and all of that. So that's my little rant about the rigged college softball world. I mean, at least make them go on the road and travel.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, they get to sit in their dorm and drive to the stadium. I mean,
right.
Oklahoma City's right there. John Strickland took a damn train from downtown Oklahoma City to Norman for the football game this year. It took him 10 minutes.
Yeah. And even considered Ubering. So that'll tell you.
I mean, it's like, it's not, it's like going from Columbia to Casey or Lexington.
That's right.
I mean, let's have the College Softball World Series in Lexington, South Carolina. How about that? Let's do that.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway, so yeah. All right. So
draft. Yeah. What do we got?
Well, I'm not quite ready to go to the draft yet. Right, I want to go. I want to do a little recruiting. Get into some recruiting talk because the chat box is sort of like my guide, right?
Yes.
And so the Nana's Porch chat box, if something's aglow in the chat box, I'll shift gears. We're going to get to the draft because the draft impacts recruiting too. It's all about lots of things are all about recruiting, especially when I'm talking about things. That's kind of, I'm still wired that way. I'm like, how does that affect this and that and the other? So anyway, in the chat box, Cam does mention, I want to say Joyce Edwards may end up being one of the best ever play for Dawn. She's so good. Yeah, she is. And I'll say this, just, I don't know how I had this knowledge behind the scenes when she was being recruited. I know for a fact the women's basketball staff, number one, they were a little nervous. They wouldn't get her. Number two, they were nervous about getting it. They thought it was a huge pickup. And for a program at the status that they're at, where they can go recruit anybody in the country they want. And if they miss on somebody out of high school, they can usually go in the portal and get whoever they want. That said a lot about that young lady's talent level. Plus she's in state. And I think the roots of this program, the ascension, if you will, kind of their Dawn's breakthrough teams, they all had local talent. I mean, if it wasn't the state of South Carolina, Asia Wilson and those folks, it was Charlotte, or someplace close like that. So it's just good to keep those young ladies home, especially when you're a national powerhouse.
Yeah.
So Cam asked, how long does it take for snow to melt? It's got to give above 32 degrees Fahrenheit. 0 degrees Celsius.
Right. It helps when the clouds move out of the way too. The sun. You need the sun, Cam.
Yeah, the sun will and sometimes in South Carolina, even if it's like 34 and the sun's out, that'll melt pretty good. So before I get to Clint's question here in the Nana Sports chat box, I will talk about Junior Day this weekend. And I'm going to focus on, I'm not going to give you the whole list and just run through players, blah, blah, blah. But Hale did report some confirmed attendees. And, for those of you worried about D tackle, there are 2 coming in. One, they recently offered a Brian Harris from Mandarin High in Jacksonville, Florida. A guy that I think they just watched his film, evaluated him. He got the offer. He's coming in. I need to research him a little bit before I can say, do I think he's good or not good, but they offered him. So there's that. The other defensive tackle, get this, Phil. And this is a name you're going to start probably hearing a lot because Dabo gave him a promotion. Ben Boulware.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. Bullware. Yeah, we know that name.
This is Ben Boulware, the D tackle from North Carolina. I think Winston-Salem. He's a
handsy, if I remember right.
When you're doing the evaluation of this kid, you're like, he's got violent hands. He's a poker.
He's a poker.
He's not somebody that's going to grab ass around all that much, but he will. Nevertheless. So, Boulware is coming in. A guy Clint asked about, Rodney Dunham, a talented 4 or 5-star guy, 4-star guy, out of North Carolina, defensive end edge. I think South Carolina's right there. There's a lot of competition. If he were 30 miles closer, or I'm sorry, maybe not even 30, depending on what part of Charlotte he's in, across the border, I'd feel a little better. Charlotte players, South Carolina hasn't gotten to the point where they just get everybody from Charlotte. I think at some point they should. They're the closest team, and if they start winning, but yeah, it's a different deal there. But I think Carolina's in as good a shape as they can be right now. And then a player from Raleigh, keep going up 85, that they offered last week. Some other teams got in a little earlier on this guy, but he's good. And Sterling Lucas was by there. Keyshawn Eliezer, defensive end. Those 4 players, without knowing a lot about Harris, I mean, those are always key, your defensive linemen. There's a ton of competition for them. I think it's interesting 3 are from North Carolina, Phil. And as we talk about D-line heaven, it's both Carolinas. It's pretty, I don't want to say loaded, but stacked, i.e. there are a lot of good defensive linemen in North Carolina. There's a lot of good offensive linemen in South Carolina this year. But it's one of those bushel full years with regards to D linemen in that state. And I do think North Carolina puts out more numbers. It's a bigger state. I mean, you're talking 9-10 million people, I think, in North Carolina. And so, you've got more people, more players. Simple. That's simple. But it is one of those good years where you look at it. It's a smorgasbord of D linemen, if you will.
I love that. Yeah, big beef.
Let me tell you something about the state of North Carolina, because I'm finally at a point where I'm just willing to admit it. If you're wanting to corral the top state players from North Carolina, the Tennessee Volunteers are a problem. They are a problem. And it's been trending that way, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They're a problem. And they're a problem for everybody that wants to recruit there. But they, under Heupel, they used to come into South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and swipe players and things like that. This staff, though, they're really, really good in that state. They've already got the number 1 player in the state for 2026, the quarterback out of Greensboro, Faison Brandon. He has a last name for a first name and a first name for a last name. Seriously.
That is true. Yeah, that's right.
You're thinking Brandon Faison Brandon.
Faison Brandon, cool. Right.
And I think, 24/7 thinks he's the number 1 quarterback in the country.
Nice.
So we'll see. He mentioned Dunham. Dunham is number 2. I'm going to get all. I'm going to speak of composite rankings. Brandon's still number 1 in the state and number 5 in the country. Dunham, poor composites, 6th in the state. but a high number 4 DN edge, Samari Matthews, is right there too. South Carolina is slowly but surely making more inroads in North Carolina. But yeah, Dunham doesn't have a whole lot of, I would say outward favorites. I will say Tennessee is a factor. So there you go.
Yeah.
I will say that Notre Dame, Thomas Davis Jr. is committed to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is a factor. Notre Dame's gotten players out of the Charlotte area before, but I'd watch out for Tennessee with him. And they, getting James Pierce a couple of years ago, who South Carolina was all over at the end and just couldn't close the deal, I think's helped them start kind of a train. I look at Notre Dame as well as a player there. Clemson's always going to kind of be competitive in North Carolina as well, but South Carolina, it's a little bit, it's murky, but it always has been. I mean, I remember during the Spurrier era when South Carolina would go up and they got the Chris Cullivers, the Travian Robertsons, the Melvin Ingrams out of Eastern North Carolina and Durham and all that. And then, through time, they couldn't get anybody. I mean, they couldn't get dudes out of Charlotte. I mean, DJ Humphreys went to Florida. Brandon Spikes from Shelby went to Florida. You had players just going all over. And that's just something that will have to evolve with high school recruiting. I do think it's important to sign a lot of D linemen in this class and to get your share. And if you could do something out of North Carolina, great, because that's where the players are at, Phil.
Well, you got to go where they are. Is Bill Belichick moving the needle right now in recruiting?
No, not really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's working out for them as well as they figured it would.
I think they're having problems with. I don't want to speculate. Who am I to question the GOAT?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Just let the GOAT go forward. And I will say this too, South Carolina got some players out of North Carolina, Darden and Rowe and Alston and those guys, they were kind of, as far as who else was recruiting them, Georgia and other schools tried to get in on Rowe and flip him. So he had a nice offer list. Darden way out in Havelock. I don't know if anybody came all the way out there or not. Probably should have. And then Austin was kind of like an NC State Carolina battle or whatever. So there's nothing wrong when you're trying to get good players with signing a handful that are kind of in that NC State range. Because if you look at it, NC State's had, I tend to believe if it weren't for Dave Dorn, they would win more games. They've had good players though that have gone to the NFL that they've gotten out of the state. Your mid-range players from North Carolina sometimes pan out, and sometimes the guys that are heavily recruited don't.
Mm-hmm.
Some do, some don't. It's just weird. A lot of times it depends on where they go. The dudes that have gone to Tennessee though, I mean, you're talking about Sampson, their running back this year, and Pierce, and Sam Pendleton just left Notre Dame and went to Tennessee as an offensive lineman from there. They're a problem for anybody that wants to recruit Tennessee in North Carolina. That's kind of their lifeblood a little bit, that and in-state and all that good stuff. So it's, I remember when they got through the years, they've had good players from North Carolina. That Jay Graham, we all know him. He was from North Carolina. Concord, went to Tennessee. Montario Hardesty to throw out two ends of the running back coach spectrum at South Carolina. Went to Tennessee. It was from North Carolina. Marquez North, who we don't need to talk about. He is from North Carolina. I remember Jonathan Crompton was from Waynesville, North Carolina, up near your alma mater.
Mm-hmm.
Cullowhee.
That's right.
Probably one of the only guys to ever come out of there that's a Division I football guy. He was part of the first class that I covered at Rivals in 2005. And he looked Italian. That's what we called him, Cromptoroni. Cromptoroni. Yeah, Jonathan. I'm going to go quarterback for the Vols. But so it was but Leonard Little was from North Carolina, played at Tennessee. There's a long list of them. Now, the good news is when you're talking about the recruiting at Tennessee, because they're kind of like the Death Star. They kind of hover up there on the map above everybody, and they don't have to pick off everybody else's players as much.
No,
because that state has doubled as far as good players that come out of it. The problem they face is still geographic, though, Phil. It's 178 miles from Knoxville to Nashville. That's a haul. It's closer to get from Nashville to like Tuscaloosa in some ways. It's equal distance. Kentucky's right up the road. You've got Ole Miss right down there in Oxford.
yeah,
Auburn is, you just go straight down 65 and boomerang a little up 85 and you're at Auburn. Or that kind of thing. So geography hurts them. And then you get west of Nashville, Tennessee. UT is way far away.
oh yeah,
That's what
Memphis area and all that. Yeah, no,
they weren't getting Michael Orr. I don't care what. And then you remember that the scandal was Albert Means scandal that got Alabama on probation and Fulmer turned him in, and there was all this. I don't know if this is on the stupid list because I understand where he's coming from. And Philip Fulmer was a master recruiter, like great, set the tone for recruiting. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. And the good news is for South Carolina, Shane Beamer was a GA there for 3 years under the master.
Yeah,
I think he kind of learned some things.
Gets to learn, right?
Learned a couple of things from Philip Fulmer about recruiting, but he loved it. He loved recruiting. Great dude too. As far as dealing with recruiting, opinions about how he recruited against South Carolina, it's a different ball game. I'm talking big picture. So they're kind of like the Death Star, and they used to really have to do it, Phil, because there are about 10 players in that state, and half of them were over there.
Right.
Like over far away, and they go to Ole Miss or whatever. The North Carolina thing, though, it has come back under Heupel, and I think it's a situation where they found a kind of like Carolina did in DC and Maryland there for a while. They found kind of a pipeline, and it's kind of snowballed. Is it sustainable as long as they win and keep forking out the NIL money?
Yeah,
I mean, I forgot they got David Sanders, right? He's from Charlotte. I mean, it's going to be tough to beat Tennessee on North Carolina kids. I'm just saying that. I'm not saying you're not going to beat Tennessee on the field. I'm just saying that in recruiting right now, they've kind of got an in that they've established, and there are probably a number of reasons for that. But once you get that, the Albert Mean stuff. What I thought was funny was Fulmer, his big deal was, they're taking players from our state. I'm like, you weren't getting him anyway. He's from Memphis. It's technically your state, yes.
Right, yes.
But
he's 400 miles away from you.
we don't have any concept of that here in South Carolina because the state, but that would be like Northwestern, way up in Evanston near the Wisconsin border.
Right.
Or a good 30 minutes from Wisconsin, being mad because they're losing kids out of Edwardsville, which is near St. Louis, or Carbondale, which is closer to Little Rock than it is to Chicago. I mean, yes, technically you're in state, but are you really in state? I don't know. So, so that's the deal there with Charlotte and Tennessee, but that's a long way of addressing the point that I was thinking about today. I was like, yeah, Tennessee is a problem with some of these guys. Cause I was looking at these visits and I was like, hats off to them. So, but they sit up there like the Death Star, Phil, and you don't want to be Alderaan if you're the state of South Carolina. No. I don't think that's happening. I can't, they've tried. And they've gotten some players from South Carolina, mainly that South Carolina screwed it up on or didn't want, right? But it's nothing like the Fulmer era when they were coming in here and scooping the cream of the crop off the top and doing it every year. And if it wasn't them, it was Florida State. If it wasn't Florida State, it was Georgia, and then sometimes North Carolina. I mean, it was a bizarre. I mean, some of you, we've gotten to the point where some of our audience is too young to remember those days. I mean, it's a miracle South Carolina won a game, and Clemson didn't get anybody either.
Yeah,
Clemson wasn't.
Yeah,
they would lose the top, and then it came down to between Clemson and Carolina. This was the 90s. Like, who got the most out of the state, and who was right in the guesses when they guessed in the state. Who could win 7 games and win the rivalry? That was basically what it was,
right?
During that point in time, Phil. And now both schools do a great job of keeping players at home. And,
and that's my thing. It was like Tennessee they're looming up there and pulling, and it makes sense for them to pull players out of North Carolina because when you go, I mean, anytime you travel in Western North Carolina, you see a hell of a lot more orange than you do red or sky blue. But you just don't want them encroaching into the borders, right? You got to keep your talent at home. That's how you win. And some dark times were when Tennessee was taking the top out of the Carolina.
Yeah, and it's been a while. I mean, gosh, I'm trying to think of the last player that South Carolina really wanted that bolted to Tennessee. That was a high school player. Probably. Probably who? Probably Robert Ayers, Marlboro County.
Yeah, see, and that's not even Western South Carolina. That's
that's well, they got players from everywhere. They had Gaffney, Darlington, Anderson. I mean, you name it. They would Fulmer would roll down here. I remember he beat, and I don't know how well this. I don't even know if he ended up playing. Being all that good. Eric Young, an offensive lineman from Union. Carolina and Clemson battled it out for him. And then he was supposed to sign with South Carolina. I think it was Lou Holt's era. And then boom, Tennessee got him at the end. Somebody said they saw Fulmer and the Lizards thicket on Two Notch Road, recruiting a kid from Columbia before he went up to visit with Big E, is what they called him.
Kiffin taking golf cart rides up here. A couple.
Yeah, see, good luck with all that. Look at all that, So, anyway, RLE from the Nana Sports chat box says he's in Hickory. There are way too many UT fans.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
They got a big fan base. I'll say that definitely. They are definitely a bigger bunch of folks. As Ohio State found out, and then Tennessee found out that, well, Ohio State's pretty good, right? Anyway, we're going to dig into the NFL draft, answer more of your questions for the Nano Sports chat box when we get back. Don't forget, if you're a Garnet Trust member, speaking of recruiting, all the newcomers, the freshmen, and the portal acquisition. Somebody, if you go, get a picture of the linebacker from Alabama, Okoronkwo, and send it to insidethegamecocks@gmail.com. I want to see what this guy looks like.
Hale's going to be there. He said he would be there. So
he's not going to take any pictures.
Yeah, that's true.
Hale won't do that.
Not his job.
I'll put it in. No. I don't want to ask Hale to do that because he's got a million other things going on.
Right. Yeah, I know.
So yeah, take that. I'd like to get a good look at all that. So. Anyway, I'll be at some Garnet Trust events this year for sure, but just didn't make it down for this one. Kind of a quick turnaround,
Yeah.
But anyway, hope you show up. Hope you're a Garnet Trust member. All that good stuff. We'll continue for hour number 2, the final hour of the week here on Inside the Gamecocks. The show brought to you by Tony Pope State Farm, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. Switch. You can't afford to have crappy insurance like the Allstate got. You're in good hands. Well, you're in good hands with Allstate. You know that's Pedro Serrano from Major League? Yeah, that's the same actor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's Serrano.
Yeah.
The Allstate guy. You can't afford that. So go North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. Go to TonyPope.com. Help out a great Gamecock by giving him your business, but also protect yourself because that insurance is pretty good. I've had some things come up. And Tony Pope State Farm has been right there for me, both in and out of state. TonyPope.com. Check him out. We'll be back after these messages.
There's nothing like Saturday in South Carolina. However you enjoy Gamecock football, Gamecock Traditions has a long-standing legacy of being a part of your game day. From tailgates to touchdowns, Gamecock Traditions has what you need and want with our beloved Block C logo. Get into Gamecock Traditions in Lexington or the Village at Sand Hill, or visit GamecockTraditions.com and have it shipped to your doorstep. We look forward to taking care of your family. Go Gamecocks.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com, man, that's good.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
One brand. Two shows. The morning show. Weekdays from 10 a.m. until noon. And the show from noon until 2 p.m. Go Gamecocks!
It is Inside the Gamecocks of the show. JC Shurburtt and Phil Mad Dog Mullinax in with you. Talking some Gamecocks football recruiting here, ending the hour. It's I love how Hale put it today. He was like, it's the Gamecocks football at the men's basketball game Saturday. It's an
annual occurrence.
Yeah.
And look out. Gosh, I'll never forget when Spurrier got here, when he addressed the crowd at the basketball game. He got a little fired up. He's like, "There you go, Cox!"
Yeah.
Everybody went crazy. Gosh, that was one of those Dave Odom teams, 04-05. That was the first NIT championship, but that team face planted in SEC play. So I don't think Carolina even won. The game, I think they asked Spurrier at halftime, what about the basketball game? Well, shoot, they just need to play a little better, don't they?
Never one to mince words, really. You know,
our team's just not. We just got to play better.
Yeah,
so
we just got to play better.
Anyway, welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Talked about Tony Pope earlier. Also want to thank Gamecock Traditions. They are always awesome. Ryan Brewer Fence. Ryan Brewer, that's one I don't mention because Mike usually does, but Mike's not here. So if you need a fence, call Ryan Brewer. He's really, really good at what he does. Just as good as he was at running the ball and as he is at lifting weights now. That guy, he's in shape. I got a chance to meet him.
Get a hell of a fence.
Got a chance to meet him at an event, man. That guy's stacked. Great dude too. So highly recommend it. When I move back to Columbia, we're probably going to need a fence to keep the snakes out. That's one thing I'm worried about moving back.
Really?
There's no poisonous snakes here. They're rare. So you don't have to worry about if you got some brush or something stack of wood,
copperhead hiding,
some copperhead, something
right?
like you dying or something of a snake bite. You don't have that. No fear here. You swim in the river, no water moccasins.
You do have that. We have like glue traps in our garage, right? That are designed, I guess, to keep the rodents out. But I've never caught a rodent in one, and I keep it to myself when I have to switch them out, because you'd be surprised what I find in my little glue traps right there at the edge of the garage door.
dude, I'm just gonna get a house up on stilts or something. Like, I don't
You need to build a beach house in the middle of the
build a beach house like
yeah.
somewhere. Good God. I'm like Indiana Jones. I hate snakes. I'm just
snakes.
I'm not a snake guy. I get you good. Yeah. My mom likes snakes. My mom's terrified of spiders, though, for some reason. I don't care for spiders. Bruin says fence ain't gonna keep snakes away. Hey, a Ryan Brewer fence will, buddy.
A Ryan Brewer fence will.
maybe not. I'm not saying that. Please don't take that seriously. But he will build you a hell of a fence. Check out Ryan Brewer Fence, a sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show, and all that we do here, and a big supporter of Carolina, really, and obviously a great Gamecock. So check them out. In the Nana Sports chat box, Tiffany says she's become important at work and it's ruining her life. Well, Tiffany, I'm glad you've become important at work, but I'm sorry it's ruining your life.
I went through that, Tiffany. Yeah, I got important at work and it ruined my life too.
Oh God.
Yeah. It's like,
most of that depends.
You don't want that. Like, you got to be careful what you wish for, Tiffany.
I got important in my job a couple times, and I think I've self-destructed myself. I think I ruined my own life.
I've been there too.
I worked hard, not smart, but no. I've always actually had really good work experiences because they don't last too long with me. If I don't, when I was younger, I'd walk out. I just finally get sick of it and leave.
No,
like in the middle, like no notice, no nothing. Just see ya. F you. Yeah,
you're
bye.
Cool. I'm out.
I've always professionally though, like since I've actually been out in the real world, I've always been pretty lucky with the profession and then the business and all that. So I've been fortunate, and a lot of it's because of all of you out there.
That's right.
Especially currently. So thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Hey, y'all, like and subscribe.
Subscribe.
Doesn't cost you a thing.
Clint was at Clint was at Easley, home of the Green Wave, when Sean Ellis was at Westside in the 90s. Heck of a player. Yeah, he was one of the best, man. He played a long time in the NFL. Kind of weird recruitment. Legend has it, and I say legend because I wasn't in the business then. I was but a wee lad in high school. I just read what Phil Kornblut wrote, and then when I got in the business later, you had people that were older than me that would fill me in on what the urban legends of what happened. Apparently, South Carolina pushed him to Tennessee so he wouldn't go to Clemson in the Brad Scott era. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm sure some people believe it, and some people, but that was the hot rumor going around. Now back then, you never knew. You never know, but that was interesting there. West Side guy, you'd think Clemson would have a pretty good shot, but he was a stud, and Jeff Coleman was a stud too out of Gaffney. They got Dominique Stevenson out of Gaffney as well. Tiffany says, JC, do you check the Rise email? That email inbox became corrupted. And obviously with all of I do, I kind of took it off of my Gmail account. Nobody was really hitting it up. It was just all this spam. So no, I do not. If you need something from me, and I'll just tell this for everyone out there, because if you've been emailing me, the very best way to get me is my name at gmail.com. That's better than it works better than Big Spur DMs. It works better than Twitter messages. It works better than any social media messages you may send me. I answer every single one of those every single day. It's on my phone. My name, jcshurburtt at gmail.com. If you have anything at all, and please, I do not mind you reaching out. It's my personal and business email, but do not mind you reaching out at all, because guess what? I check it every day. I answer it. There's reasons I don't always get around to the other things. So if you want to get a hold of me via email, please, jcshurburtt at gmail.com. Bruin, fence ain't going to keep them snakes away. What does?
It's not, but Oriole Lee's right. Don't live near a creek. That's right. So long as you're not around water, you'll be.
I'm not even coming to your house now anymore, Phil.
It's okay. Don't worry. I got it. You'll never see them. That dang cat y'all got probably eats them.
Probably goes and kills them.
Well, we keep and the cats are allowed out on the back porch, so that's what keeps all of the things away. Here, I'll tell you what. The weirdest thing I ever had on my back porch was a flying squirrel. I was sitting out back, and it was the middle of the night. I was it was like a Friday night or whatever, and I had outlasted my wife, and I'm about 50 beers in, and I'm sitting there listening to music, and then all of a sudden it comes out of nowhere and just flies down and lands on me, and I'm freaking out. I'm throwing it all over the place. I chased it out of there. It took me a second to figure out what it was. I had no idea. I had to snag a picture of it because it's one of those stories that, it's like, no, that didn't happen to you. Oh, yes, I was attacked by a flying squirrel on my screened in back porch one night.
Oh, my God. That's horrible.
It was. It was very traumatic.
Was it an owl that Dina, your wife, sent me one day? Like, it was ass early in the morning.
Yes. Yeah.
Me and Skipper, my friend Skipper and his wife, we're on this group text. And I get this video. It's like 6 a.m. or 5 my time, and I'm up working. I guess it's like, so this just happened. Mm-hmm. And it is funny because the video goes on. It's silent for a second. Dina's like, hey, man, you just going to stay there? How you doing?
Yeah, you never know.
This owl is just woo, Now, I'll say this, and then we'll get off animal stories. So one day, my stepson goes out in the backyard, and we have a shed that one day I'm going to build into my outdoor paradise, but we hadn't gotten around to. So we just basically do what everybody else does with the shed and keep things in it.
Right.
But it's supposed to be a bar at some point, an outdoor bar at some point.
Oh, I like that.
But there's a family of bunnies that live underneath it, right? A nest. And you see them hopping all over the place, right? My dog, who's an 18-pound Pomeranian mix, who's vicious, hates bunnies.
Oh, I bet.
He'll go out there. I'll get up 5 a.m. He goes immediately down, takes, does his business because he's got to, walks over to the shed and will proceed to bark and wake up the neighbors at the bunnies trying to get a hold of them. He tried to dig a tunnel under the shed into the bunnies. We had to put stones there.
Oh, God.
So one day, stepson comes up. He's in the backyard, and he's like, Red ate a bunny or bit its head off, or decapitated a bunny. And I'm sitting there in a minute. For a second, I was like, plausible, and then I'm like, no. Number one, he's old and his teeth aren't that strong to decapitate a bunny. His claws aren't that strong. He's 18 pounds. He tore off after one day. One of the bunnies panicked, like full panic, and just sprinted across the yard. And Red took off after him. And then my man just ran out of steam because the bunny was just gone.
Yep.
He's like, You'll be. And I'm like, so how did he catch the bunny? And then the headless body, there were 2 of them. They were like parallel on the pavement. And I was like, is this some kind of ritualistic something?
Right. It's ritualistic sacrifice.
I'm like, Satan worshipers broken in the backyard or something like that. And so we did some research, and it was an owl.
Oh, right.
It was an owl. Mm-hmm. Who kills rodents like that? Because we have in Illinois, we have like bald eagles and falcons and hawks. There's all kinds of big birds of prey, if you will, in these parts, and they're out. You see them a lot, but they don't kill bunnies that way. The owls do though, because they eat the head.
Right.
Apparently.
Yeah. Well.
So I guess you didn't expect Mr. Wizard's World today.
No, that's right. Yeah, we're diving into
owls eat the head. It's like the secret of Nim. Owls eat mice. All right, so the NFL draft. Actually, I have to read this. To wrap up Animal Kingdom here. The Queen of the Cock says Missouri's infested with water moccasins and copperheads. I had a water moccasin hop in my kayak on the river last year and almost pooped myself.
Yeah, all right. I'm okay with snakes, right? Because whatever, you just deal with them. But oh my goodness, I would have almost pooped myself too.
Look, snakes are one thing. Surprise snakes.
Yeah, completely different.
I'm not down for that.
No.
I'm not down for any of them, but don't no surprise snakes. It's my worst nightmare. Anyway, Bruin took a girl fishing one time on the boat. She was terrified of snakes. I told her they didn't climb trees and water. She agreed to go. She wasn't thrilled when we left.
I bet.
Queen of the Cock says fishing. Haven't went without a machete yet. Bruin says cats will keep snakes away.
Yeah, we don't see them like they're
I'm not a cat person.
It's a
I'm
random
allergic.
sighting for us. But now ours are indoor cats, so they are. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. There's one now.
What eats snakes? What can I get that eats snakes? Warthog?
Owls, hawks. Yeah.
I'll get a
that's what-
pet owl.
Yeah, you need to become a falconer.
You remember when Mr. Mackey at South Park, like they brought up Woodsy and he hated Woodsy owl. He was like, I don't like that Woodsy. Okay, he just gives a hoot, nothing polluting. Okay, I don't like that Woodsy. I would name my owl Woodsy and think about that episode and laugh every single day. You can tell it's Friday, folks. All right, NFL draft. So I looked back and I don't know. It's hard to dig team specific stuff too terribly far back with the amount of research that I put in on it. But I went back to about 2000, 99, 98. I could not find a year where South Carolina had more than 7 players drafted. So riddle me this, Batman. And this is for the chat box and everybody else too. How many do you think the Gamecocks will have selected this year? And I'll give you, I came up with 12, couple outside shot drafted guys that I don't think they'll have 12, but 12 possibilities. I didn't include Kai Kroger. Make that 13.
I was going to say, yeah, is that including a solid Mr. Irrelevant pick?
Yeah, Kai Kroger.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Suckup was Mr. Irrelevant and had a fantastic career in the NFL. Do you know Ryan Suckup actually committed to Lou Holtz? He and Kenny McKinley both.
Really?
Stuck with it with Spurrier, yeah.
Nice.
All right, so here are my, I guess, here are my potential draftees. Nick Emanware, TJ Sanders, Kyle Kennard. This is not in any kind of order. This is how it flowed out of my brain. Rocket Sanders, Josh Simon, Torricelli Simpkins, O'Donnell Fortune, Tonka Hemingway, Demetrius Knight Jr., Bam Martin Scott, because I don't think Bam's getting that other year. I mean, you never know. But he is a potential late round draft guy. The NFL likes the way he rushes the passer. Everybody loves pass rushing, right? And then Kai Kroger. And then Vershawn Lee could be a guy that enters the chat a little bit at center. The pros like him. Boogie Huntley. I think Boogie's probably with this in a 7-round draft, late pick or an undrafted free agent. I think now you talk about the guys that will play pro football that I think could play. DeAndre Jules and Delvine Campbell, to me, have a shot to make a roster or practice squad.
Yeah.
I think they're really good players. That brings us up to 15 guys. Now, so my question is, how many will get drafted?
Well, I mean, even if you cut that in half, you're looking
I mean, you get 8 or 9.
right?
It's a banner year.
Yeah.
As far as drafted players go, for South Carolina. I mean, that's usually there are a couple of years there between Spurrier and now where you're like just hoping 1 or 2 guys gets drafted.
Yeah.
But this is quite a group, that I think, and I, you look at all of them. I don't think with that first, at least 9, Bam Martin Scott's kind of a specializing pass rushing guy at linebacker, probably fits in certain schemes in the NFL more than others. But Demetrius Knight Jr., Tonka Hemingway. Oh, I didn't even mention Debo Williams. You know, Debo could play pro football, obviously. So that's 16. Eamon Warray, Mel Kiper has him number 19 on his big board. How about that?
Yeah, he's moving up.
In any kind of football evaluation in the NFL, does this rarity means your stock's higher. If you're rare, like if you're like, okay, you're a good safety, you're an All-American safety. Oh, but you're 6'4", 220.
Yeah, right.
Well, that changes the equation. We can do a lot with this guy. TJ Sanders is just good. If Kyle Kennard could get into the first round. I mean, but it's a very deep year at pass rusher, defensive end, edge, whatever they want to call it now. However, I've seen it not be such a deep year at defensive end, Phil. And late second round, or late first round, early second, I guess this was maybe draft 3 or 4 years ago. They just started taking whatever DN the hell was out there.
Right.
I mean, they took a guy from Houston that was like, I was like, what? Where did this? I don't know what became of that player. But so sometimes they'll overdraft at that spot if there's a need. And there always is a need for pass rushers. But, man, you got Abdul Carter and all these other cats out there. Yeah. If Kyle has a good combine and a good pro day or whatever, I could see him getting into the first round. I think TJ Sanders has a shot at the first round. Rocket Sanders, Quinshon Judkins declared today. That doesn't necessarily help because I know the pros are going to be all over him. You got the positives with Rocket. Again, he's rare. There are very few 230-pound backs that can move like he can, that can run like he can, that can also run between the tackles like he can, that have the vision and footwork that he does. But also, Phil, he's a receiver out of the backfield.
Yeah, he can catch the ball. That's
the pros love that because you don't have to substitute him in. Sometimes there still is such a thing as a third down back in the NFL. You don't have to use one. You don't have to carry one on the roster. You just use Rocket. So it's a 3-down back. I think the negatives, it's going to be his injury history, that kind of plays into it. And then just the overall position value of running backs, like we talked about for an hour the other day. I don't want to get off on that tangent again because I don't want to be repetitive. So there you go. Josh Simon, what do you think he can do with the combine? I'm pretty sure he'll get invited, but dude, his film, when you look at his tape, he's impressive.
He's got one of the best qualities that I look for in like a tight end or, is he almost always makes the first guy miss, or bounce off of him. And he has the strength to drag a couple dudes down the field. So if you're looking for a big man across the middle to throw it to, who's not just going to fall down or get the ball knocked out of his hands, hey, there's your guy.
I love that about him. And I thought last year, like when you compared him to Trey Knox is a good player. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But that was the difference and probably why some people were hoping Josh would get a little more run. When Trey catch the ball, sometimes he get tackled. Didn't really, there wasn't a lot of yak yards after catch. Josh Simon, that dude's determined.
Yeah.
It happened this year. At the end of the A&M game, that was about a 2-yard dump off, and he just houses it just by just refusing to be tackled. That's
not going to go down.
I appreciate his game. I appreciate his game. And I think his stock, Phil, with the way the NFL uses guys like that now, that's a premium skill set if the combine goes freaky good and things like that. But I think I can't imagine him not getting drafted. Somebody'd have to tell me why. Why would you not take this guy? Obviously a talented player. So, there's that. Torricelli Simpkins. Another one I can't imagine somebody not taking it. As up and down as the offensive line was this year, and as bad as the offensive line was at this time, it was never on Torricelli Simpkins, man. That guy was busting butt out
No,
there.
I love he plays violent, right? I love that. You
Yes.
got to love that in an O lineman, just like it just like knock your head off.
I think he would have been. I think some team would have at least drafted him later round, maybe earlier, if he just stayed in North Carolina Central. Now that he's competed in the SEC, and that's on tape, I mean, stock goes higher. Jamie Bradford's guy, O'Donnell Fortune, I think OD will get drafted. There's not a ton of great corners in college football at all. That's another thing I was talking to Bill King about a while back. Tennessee actually got one out of the portal from the lower levels. It was pretty good this year. But I think Fortune will, extend the streak, because you had Rush and Cam Smith, and then you go Marcellus Dial last year, and then Fortune, and Torian Gray probably could have a couple people drafted. And the pros know that Torian Gray is really good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the other side of it. Is like that kind of gives you an advantage because you can see that this guy really knows how to develop the talent. Yeah.
I think this next guy is intriguing. Tonka Hemingway. And I'm going to tell you what I think he is.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Tonka and Boogie. Where do they fit? What is that?
I think Boogie and Tonka are different. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I think Tonka is a 3-man alignment defensive end in the pros.
Okay.
I think he's very athletic for a big guy. And he's got some end qualities. And South Carolina used him a lot. I mean, those are kind of the plays he made. There was no surprise when they went to the 3-man front last year. All of a sudden, you started hearing his name called more. I think that's what he's best at. That big plays, pass rushing. His athleticism is through the roof. I think some franchise that I don't know. Somebody tell me who runs 3-4 these days. I know it's kind of sort of, it changes, but whoever runs the 3-4 at DN and RLE, you read my mind. Great minds think alike. 3-4 DN. Boogie is probably an undrafted free agent, but D tackles, value guy. Maybe they think they can coach him up, get him in there. He does move pretty quick for a guy his size. Bam Martin Scott, as I mentioned again, it's a scheme fit, 3-4 linebacker type. And then I think DeAndre Jules and Delvine Campbell, if they latch on with the right franchise, they can surprise. I think they're good enough to do it. I just think, with Jules, obviously it was a big stretch of being hurt. Gosh, maybe I wish that had happened 4 games in and they shut him down and redshirted him, right?
Right, yeah.
Same with Delvon Campbell. I mean, just play him in the daggum bowl and Missouri and Wofford. That's basically what he did. I wonder, Phil, with Delvon, had they not had we had a referee on right after the LSU game on the show, and Mike knows him, and he said that offensive pass interference call on Delvon's big catch from Ashford in the LSU game was the worst call of all of them. He said that's just one you couldn't justify.
Yeah, it was completely phantom. Yeah.
I wonder what happens if that's a catch. Carolina goes on to win. He's kind of the hero, one of the heroes of the game. I wonder how that, because it seemed like, he was a guy that once he got going, he was going.
Yeah.
Against Clemson, there was some misfortune or whatever. Gamecocks didn't really throw the ball that much in that one, rightfully so. But, so I think that, I think he's got a shot to latch on. One of those guys that comes out of nowhere. So that's 16 guys. Then Kai Kroger, left-footed punter, some special teams guru up there is going to be like salivating over this guy. The Bears love to take specialists. He's from Lake Forest, Illinois. Maybe they take him. Maybe they don't.
I don't know. Maybe.
Dennis O'Keefe is the ref's name, Krieger said.
Yeah, O'Keefe. That's right.
Yeah.
Dennis O'Keefe.
So,
I don't know. Yeah, you got to look at somebody who likes little trick plays and things like that because,
Yeah, he was Mr. Trick
Play. Completion percentage is great for a guy.
Yeah, well, I wish there were 3 that went the other way. Number 1, I wish there wasn't a penalty against Old Dominion. Number 2, he screwed up a little bit the Oklahoma one because he threw
Yeah.
it too late, and then the bowl.
The bowl.
To
I
Boogie.
know. Yeah.
So, but who knows what'll happen. All right, Bruin's got a question about Beamer's buyout and his contract, and we're going to talk about that on the other side because it's time for a break.
Yeah.
By the way, Pete Carroll is back in the game.
Oh,
Man,
where's Pete?
Head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Pete Carroll's the nicest guy I've ever met. You wouldn't, some coaches are kind of jerks. Some coaches are just really cool guys. Pete's like, hey man, what's going on? Hey,
Pete does look like a real laid back kind of chill dude, right? Yeah.
Great dude. Loves football. Knows a lot about football too. 74 years old. So some of these guys,
wow,
they don't want to let go. But anyway, so Pete Carroll's the next coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And we'll be back. This is Inside the Gamecocks, the show. We are brought to you by Resto Pro of the Midlands. If disaster strikes, you're going to need them, and Tony Pope of Tony Pope State Farm. Also want to mention D's Wings in West Columbia. I'm just going to say this. It's good. Go eat wings. Mike Morgan and I have high standards for wings, and we love it. All right, back over after this to wrap it up on Inside the Gamecocks show on a Friday.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Hey Gamecock Nation, my name is Kyle, longtime listener of the show and avid golfer. I wanted to take my game to the next level, but let's face it, golf is a hard game to learn on your own. I heard the ad from McKellar Enterprises and reached out to the owner and former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. In just 2 months of working with Meredith, I shot my lowest round ever and I've never felt more confident in my golf game. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, go to McKellarEnterprises.org and book your lesson today with former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. Go Gamecocks.
Think about that old ride of yours. The carpools, the road trips, the heavy hauls, date nights, and the dings and the dents and the sticky spills and cracker crumbs, and that smell that really never goes away. Do you really want to start the new year in the same old ride? Or is it time for a fresh start? Now's the time for incredible New Year's savings at Love Chevrolet on the entire lineup of award-winning vehicles. Love has more new Chevys on the lot than any other dealer in the Midlands, in the color, style, features you've been looking for. With New Year's savings and Love's famous low price guarantee, your new ride in 25 will be invigorating, exhilarating, and affordable too. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 at Harbison, and online at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
One brand. 2 shows. The morning show. Weekdays from 10 a.m. until noon. And the show from noon until 2 p.m. Go Gamecocks!
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks of the show. Final segment of the week here. Mad Dog and JC taking it home. Take you right on into happy hour here. Get your Friday kicked off right. Grab you a cold one, crack it open. Some of you have already started. I already know. I see you in the chat box. I know you're there.
Man,
I know.
we I've actually dry Januaried it up for 24 days.
Nice.
And the wife and I got not bad news, frustrating news dealing with attorneys and stuff, insurance, stuff like that. And she was like, listen, let's just go. She said, aren't you watching some basketball games this afternoon? I was like, yeah. I said, it's just women's basketball. I didn't want you to think I was, she's not a big women's basketball fan. I was like, I didn't want you to be annoyed by it. So I didn't tell you. She's like, why don't you just meet me at tavern? I was like, all right.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Yeah.
So,
all right.
But I don't know. It was just nice. And, New Year's Eve, I had a big New Year's Eve. So just a nice break from all that. But certainly looking forward to getting back after it this afternoon. Back in the game.
To get back in the game.
But anyway, wanted to follow up a little bit on this Brian Harris, the D tackle that's visiting that Carolina recently offered from Jacksonville, Florida. Okay, so I looked it up. 3-star guy, 6'4", 290, committed to Maryland. So there you go, everybody. Go
he's
get
either
him.
looking for a better home or he's here to spot.
Go get him, Travian. Good looking player, offer list. I mean, he's been committed to Maryland, Phil, since August 9th.
Interesting.
This kind of screams guy they were trying to hide. Other offers, nothing to write home about. NC State, West Virginia, Duke, Florida Atlantic, Arkansas State. But yeah, I think Travian's a pretty good evaluator. And kind of knows what the raw tools look like at that spot. So we'll see. I don't really care either. I mean, I think they need to sign some daggum defensive tackles in this class from the high school ranks.
It'd be good to get them in early.
It'll be a numbers situation. But happy Lunar New Year to everyone. Chinese New Year. It is year of the snake.
Speaking of which,
yeah, we just talked about snakes. That's great. I have nightmares now, Phil. But so I'll say this. Funny story. My wife's Thai, and her parents are, they immigrated to the country, when she was 4, and they don't speak the best English, right? Let's just say that. They speak it well enough. They're very intelligent people. They were both. He was a physics professor at a university. She was a teacher and a dancer. And they had my wife, and they said, we want to go to America. There were some, Thailand has military coups and stuff sometimes. It's weird.
It's known for being very stable.
Yeah, but it's a peaceful country, and you don't even know it. I mean, because they're making a mint in tourism.
Yeah.
But it kind of leadership sort of changes. They have a king. A royal family. It's like a legit royal family, I mean, it's a different culture. Good food, though. Good people. Land of 1,000 smiles, what they call it. So in Thai, right? Okay, so somehow, we were talking about the Chinese zodiac, and I was like, I was born in 1976, and I've known it was Year of the Dragon for a while because that's cool.
Yeah.
And I think there was a movie in the 80s called Year of the Dragon, a kung fu movie or something. I just remember that name. And I've always thought it was cool. And I looked at my wife and went dragon, and she let me know, you're a big snake. Big snake.
Big snake.
So apparently the translation from Thai, and look, I'm just saying this because what I was told, I haven't gotten on Google Translate and figured out. A dragon is a big snake. To them, that's what it is. That's what it translates to.
It's how they're pictured, I guess, or
so
depicted rather. Even
I guess for Chinese New Year, they have the Year of the Snake and the Year of the Big Snake,
and the year
that breathes fire.
That's right. I love that. I'm a cock. The Year of the Cock.
It was meant to be, Phil.
It was fated in the, I get not necessarily the stars, but maybe the moon.
I taught him how to say "Go Roosters, Go Gamecocks." I had it. There's four words.
I know you've said it, and I've never been able to retain that.
I can't remember. I know Sweaty Cop. you know, and I know Sweaty Cup is high because I remember because it's sweaty, like sweaty cup. Like your cup
right.
has sweat, sweaty cup, like you in baseball that you would wear. And I know yes is ka. That's easy, ka. Yeah. But Bobby says dragons are big lizards, so basically a snake, some kind of reptile, right?
Yeah.
But some dragons have hands, like Pete's dragon.
Pete's dragon.
I love that movie when I was a little boy,
Great.
Pete's
That's
dragon, because I wanted a dragon myself.
Right?
Know?
Who wouldn't?
I was kind of a weird kid, man. I wanted a dragon. I wanted to have magical powers, and there was a model at the Greenville Spartanburg Airport of Milliken. You remember Milliken?
Yeah.
Out in Spartanburg. They used to have a model of it, and I thought that was cool. So I wanted a model of all of Spartanburg County to play with.
Oh,
Like
nice.
the mall,
Yeah.
all that
Kind of
stuff.
like Beetlejuice with the little town they lived in.
Yeah, never got that.
No.
Santa wasn't. And that's when I stopped believing in magic.
That's when I knew. There's still time, JC. Don't give up on your dreams.
I'm sure I still want that model of Spartanburg County.
Of all places.
If I was a psychopath, I would be psychologically damaged by that. You didn't give me the model, Bob.
Yeah, that's right.
Good Lord. Anyway, so I saw, by the way, South Carolina men's basketball is playing this week.
Yeah.
Just wanted to.
Hey, it's an easy game. They're only ranked 14th.
Only ranked 14th. Team that beat them by 35 that lost earlier this week is probably looking for a win. I say that. I know I've talked about the Garnet Trust event and all that earlier and the Meet the Football and all that, but I'll say this. Carolina drops that game to the Gators, and I get this cockadoodle brew email from like the official university site or whatever every morning. It's like a morning newsletter. It's really cool. And it was kind of funny. And I believe it was either game day or Wednesday. I get the email comes in. It comes in about 6 a.m. my time. And I look up cockadoodle brew. It's like, it won't be long before baseball season.
Jeez, already.
Get ready for Maneri's first
Already.
year.
Yeah.
Well, it's time to start talking about it. Hell, look, we get into February. We're what, 2-3 weeks from opening day?
Well, we are 13 days away from softball, and then opening day is on Valentine's Day this year for baseball.
Is that earlier than it normally is?
I was looking back. I was actually reviewing pictures to put on some videos here, and it was the 21st. It's about a week ahead of last year.
Why would they move it back?
I don't know. And why the 14th of all days?
Please don't be like basketball.
I know. Oh no.
I mean, the people that watch college baseball actually care.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't. Why are they moving it back? We don't have JB anymore to ask.
That's right.
And we don't have Stewart and we don't have Chad. We're just on our own here in baseball land, aren't we?
Well, we'll fix that.
We're floating in the sea of baseball. No one's throwing us a life raft, Phil.
If it weren't a big media day for Diamond Sports today, I'd shoot Stu a text and be like, "Hey, what the hell with the schedule this year?"
JJ says dragon has 4 legs and wings. I thought so.
I mean,
but look, who am I? Who are we to argue with the Thai language and the interpretation?
Right? Yeah. What do we know?
Who am I to do that? I mean, they've been around for thousands of years, developing that language, which it just looks like a bunch of scribble marks when you put it out there. But hey, to our language, probably looks like weird to them too. So anyway. WYRMS. What is that? I don't know. I'm not up on your mythical creatures. What's he saying?
Is that Welsh?
That's a dragon in Welsh. But anyway, back to the point there. I thought that was kind of funny. But
Bobby.
Yeah, I don't know about moving the start of college baseball back. I mean, it's uncomfortable enough it's in February, just like it's uncomfortable that the Super Bowl is in February now. I'm like, why? Pro basketball season and pro hockey season lasts like the whole daggum year. Nobody cares that much.
Mm-mm.
And you do college basketball a disservice by having, 10 games before anybody cares about college basketball outside of the schools that don't have football.
Yeah, that's right.
Or the
Except
schools
for
that
your
are bad at football that are ready for basketball season.
traditional basketball powers and those whose football teams are coming up short.
Wait a minute. JJ said he only knows because of Joe Rogan. Sorry. Yeah, I forgot about Joe Rogan believes in dragons.
Really?
No, it's a big thing. The ladies on The View.
Oh God.
I don't want to get into all this.
Start a sentence like that, you could just cut it off right there.
The ladies on The View gave him a little bit of hell about that. Joy Bear gave him hell. He believes in dragons. Yeah, he lit her up. I love Joe Rogan. I think he's one of the best interviewers ever. And
he's entertaining.
I mean, he asks better questions than some of these clowns in the media that pretend to be the arbiters of truth in our country.
Oh my God.
He asks questions. They're not gotcha questions. He doesn't try to argue. He doesn't interrupt. He lets people answer. He'll challenge people on points he has questions about. It's very good. And it's informative because I quite frankly don't give a flip about some, zealot in a suit and tie on some network that sits there and wants to acts like it's Mortal Kombat. That's not your job. Nobody believes you anyway. You've lied so much. Nobody wants to hear you with your gotcha questions and your, this, that, and the other. We can watch C-SPAN and watch Congress.
I was going to say, you could look at the committees.
What's the congressional committee?
Yeah.
Those buttholes are so rude. It's a yes or no question on both sides. It's a yes or no question. It's a yes or no question. Listen, do you know, you work for us. I'd like to hear these people answer. And because, but no, it's about
them. Stop them from saying, right? Yeah, right.
The point is, I like Joe Rogan. And for those out there on the left that want to sit there and talk about him like he's some, whatever, not on your, he was not a right wing. He's more of a libertarian than anything, but he lets people talk. And if he disagrees, he asks the right questions. He also will get the people he interviews back on track. I think that serves your audience, right? So my point is, unlike The View, and I wish sports were more this way. They're not. It's the same. Sports reporters are less combative than the political media, but they don't. It's all about them and all that. But I wish more people would do things like he does. As someone that really, if you have someone on, I would like to hear what they have to say. If I just wanted to hear what the host had to say, I would just listen to a monologue.
Yeah. Right.
It's not. Nobody wants. People are searching for the truth, not Mortal Kombat. Every time. Anyway, that's just my take on it. Craig says Joe could interview an MMA guy and the next day Neil deGrasse Tyson and hold his own with both. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He has all kinds of people on there. I just think it's informative, right? And I appreciate his willingness to ask questions and talk to people that he may not agree with and to follow up. And that informs me. And I honestly can't get that watching the news anymore.
No.
Or listening to whatever podcast on either side of the aisle, or even podcasts about science and medicine that have been politicized, or history that's always open to interpretation. I get more out of something like that than anything. So that's
love Neil deGrasse Tyson though.
I don't know.
As an aside, he's great.
Just as an aside, not a scientist.
Love Neil deGrasse Tyson.
It's The View is full of women that are poster board material for who you shouldn't marry. Tell that to Ted Danson, man.
All right, yeah, he
married Whoopi Goldberg.
No, not anymore, but yeah.
So Bruin asks, he says, maybe Beamer Shane can buy The View and shut it down with that contract. Yeah. And you did ask in the chat box before we got off on like dragons and lizards and snakes and stuff like that, you did ask if there's a buyout. What the buyout is, it's a escalator down.
Yeah.
So it's like 65% moving forward. Total number on the contract, 50.4 million.
Over, yeah, it's what, 5 years? It's $500,000 escalator, all
It's
total,
right? Yeah, 100
Yeah.
million every. I mean, sorry, 100 million. No, not 100 million. 100,000 every year. It goes up. He's not the highest paid guy in the SEC. Not really close.
No, he's like 10th.
Some of those figures are, some of it's like 8 figures. That's pretty common. Belichick's getting 10. It was funny because it was like 1 million's coming out of the North Carolina Athletic Fund, and then the rest is outside income. And that's kind of, honest to God, pretty common. You get a lot. They give the coaches some of the media money and all that good stuff. So, that's the thing. That's the thing there. But I think, and I said this, there's a special video up on our YouTube page if you want my full take on the subject. I think he deserves it. You look at what he's accomplished in 4 years here, it's more than anybody else that's coached here in his first 4 years. Even Coach Spurrier, who had it going in the right direction. People say, well, he has the transfer portal. I agree. It'll have been harder to do because look at how many players from the 2021 and 2022 class got out of Dodge last year. And a lot of them, Omega Blake, whatever, a lot of them weren't playing anywhere anyway, or playing well. They were, safe to say, misevaluations. Yeah. I would go so far as to say that.
The counter to that, though, is look at how many players are eligible and are about to be drafted that
did
term here, right?
Yeah, okay, did come in. Okay, so let's look at it. Who was not a transfer portal guy? O'Donnell Fortune, Nick Emanwari, TJ Sanders, Taka Hemingway, Bam Martin Scott was a JUCO transfer. Yeah. Vershawn, some Muschamp recruits in here.
Boogie, right?
Yeah, Boogie was a Muschamp recruit, high school guy. Josh Simon, Debo Williams. They came in from the portal. They're multi-year guys. You still get credit for that. It doesn't matter. You still get credit for it. But yeah, it's a lot of homegrown guys. But that's normally what happens with a new coach taking over a tough situation is your first couple of classes don't always pan out, right? Because you're not necessarily reaching on guys. And then this time with Beamer, it was even worse because with that 2022 class, which did have Emanwari, DQ Smith, some guys that are really good players. 2022, they couldn't go see guys in person until June. They literally did not they got the job in 2021 and then could not go for 6 months. No evaluations. And then the whole previous 2021 class for everybody was all on Huddle and Zoom.
Yeah. You held the class together via Zoom.
Yeah. So
there's a lot to be said for that.
I understand. All that. Bruin asked anybody left on the roster from the Muschamp years. Let me think. Ja'Kai Moore.
Yeah.
He's still there.
So it would have to be somebody injured and granted an extra year at this point.
Nick Barrett and Sanders were actually, they committed to Will Muschamp, but they didn't sign until Beamer. So they're few and far between now. So, but look, it's one of those things where that's kind of expected. And so I didn't, after the 5 and 7 year, you probably wanted to make room for some guys that come in and play. And he restocks the roster, goes 9 and 4. Nobody else has gotten above 7 wins in year 4. And the reason why is normally you do miss, you inherit some good players from the other guy that got fired. And these players weren't quite ready for him to go win with. because he took over for another guy in his first couple of classes. It's a vicious cycle when you
really
get to
is.
the fire somebody every 5 year cycle. It is no coincidence, Phil, that Steve Spurrier started winning in year 6.
Yeah.
And that's the coach they gave time to. Lou Holtz's 6th team was that team Strickland was on. That was a pretty good football team. Some things happened. They finished 6-5. Still a good football team, better than the previous 2. And it just happened. That's just how college football goes, especially around here. So to get there in year 4, something else, he has more top 10 wins. He's beaten Clemson twice. He's, the first quarterback drafted since 1990. He's about to have a record draft. If we're right about some of these guys, 3 bowl games in 4 years has kind of been the norm. So that's nothing special. As far as historically, he's beaten Texas A&M. No other coaching program history has. He's beaten them twice.
First guy to do that. Yeah.
The Clemson series turnaround. I mean, last coach to start 2-0 at Clemson was, I believe, was it? Joe Morrison started 1-0-1.
Oh, okay.
But Brad Scott was the 2-0 guy.
Yeah.
He, let's not compare that.
No.
But anyway, considering where Clemson's at as a program now, I think those are significant wins. Recruiting has been outstanding. He's signed 2 out-of-state 5-stars. That hadn't happened in the modern recruiting era when you're talking about composite rankings and consensus and things like that. I just think that, he deserves it. And I think some folks out there, are going to sit there because they always have something to say about contracts and money. And they may go, whoa, buyout, whatever. And I'm going to tell those people something. We're in a different era of college football now. Number 1. Number 2, the Muschamp buyout didn't hurt South Carolina one bit. And it happened during the worst possible time financially for anybody. It didn't affect any hiring. They didn't have to stop building buildings. They didn't have to do anything. Yeah. It was just people mad at Ray Tanner because he made a bad hire and had to pay $12 million to get out of it, which is pretty. I mean, that pales in comparison to Auburn, But look, if you're worried about getting out of it, it's not going to happen. If Shane Beamer goes 1-11 next year, God forbid that happens.
Oh God! No.
But he's probably not getting fired. They're probably going to give him a chance to get, because guess what? Nobody's firing. We went through a period where programs were very quick to fire. That was the quick fix. Pay the buyout. I don't care. Get him out. Get him going. Look at Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my God, but hey, what'd they do this year? Before they turned it around, they said,
slow burn, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, because guess what? Coaching hires aren't the only answer anymore. You have to have players, and because you're spending $20 million on players a year, right? You're not too fired up about another 50 going out the back door when your coach had a down year. You're not saying anything. I mean, I don't think the quick triggers were do anything but PR moves anyway. Angry fans, angry boosters, people panic, fire him.
Yeah.
Now look, I couldn't make a case to keep Muschamp. I mean, when you have an unpopular hire like that, which he would have been no matter who the AD was.
Yeah, it was already strained.
Yeah, it was already strained, and so I get that. Totally. I'm not saying that South Carolina should have kept any of these guys. It's not about South Carolina. It's about college football. I mean, Sam Pittman.
Yeah.
Probably would have been fired at 6-6, but he wasn't.
Yeah. I mean,
I think
Lincoln
Lincoln
figured Petrino was going to take that job, right?
I think in a different era, Lincoln Riley would have been shown the door. Probably could make a case to fire him over everybody else.
I mean, I'm kind of surprised that one hasn't happened yet.
You take over everybody hated all over Clay Helton. And then they make the caged animal higher with Lincoln Riley, and they're worse. They got worse. So nobody's really. I mean, Napier survived. I just, Brian Kelly may have been on the hot seat a little bit this year. You just never know. Hugh Freeze, Auburn loves firing people.
I know. Yeah.
They didn't, did they? So I'm going to just say that for those of you that are worried about South Carolina having to swallow a buyout or something, don't, because he's not getting fired anyway, no matter what.
Nor should he after one bad season, even if he
I'll say this too about him. I think for the first time ever, South Carolina can look and say, hey, probably I'll say for the first time since the Joe Morrison era, hey, Carolina's got that's Carolina people can say that's our coach, right? Because all the other ones have kind of been on loan. I love Steve Spurrier. I hated the day he left. He'll mean everything to this program moving forward. His name's on the practice facility, like I said. But he's also all over the place, Florida, and the field's named after him.
Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, when you see him out, on the TV, he's going to be
Holtz, Notre Dame. Yeah. I mean, but this guy, it's been his only head coaching job. And in 4 years, he's winning and has things in the right direction. I think when you consider the value he brings to the table, it's well worth it. And I wouldn't sweat the buyout, folks. You got more to worry about. Don't worry about the buyout. Unless you just love coaching changes and think you can change coaches every year and be perfectly fine. and so that's kind of what you want, is for him to get fired. And so you're like, well, that's going to delay my gratification. Anyway, I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Gamecocks, of course, women's basketball tonight at 5 p.m. Colonial Life Arena. Game is still on ESPN. Want to thank Joe for stopping in and delivering the goods with powerful strength.
That's right.
I mean, he kind of got everybody going. We had a nice show. So thanks to him. We'll be back on Monday. Don't forget, Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show on Monday morning. I would imagine John Whittle would be through to chop it up.
Yeah, it should be. Whittle, and I'm trying to think. We haven't. Oh, there's another regular Monday guest, but my mind is blank.
Sometimes Mike Morgan comes through.
Yeah, it should be Mike, maybe. I think,
Mike and Whittle. Mm-hmm. So check that out from 10 to 12. And then also check out our show from 12 to 2. Also, it's not live, but it's coffee. If you missed coffee today, I went through Josiah Thompson and had a nice little talk on the offensive line. And then I didn't repeat myself on this show. So if you want to hear about the O-line, you got to go get coffee. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, that's all available on the Inside the Gamecocks podcast stream. Those go up unless YouTube screws me like they did last night, where this show was not able to be downloaded until this morning.
Oh, my God.
So hopefully that's not the case today, because I'm not getting up in the morning and putting it up. But you can get everything there: coffee, walkthrough, late night Gamecock. For Mad Dog Phil, this is JC. I'm going to let Phil get us out of here. Phil, tell us one more time.
That's
about
right.
one of our sponsors. Just name one.
That's Right to Bear. I was thinking about Perry the other day, so let's go with Right to Bear. That's right. Yeah, make sure your butt is covered if someone tries to break in or do anything to you. I mean, listen, it's a crazy world out there, and you're not guaranteed that the jury's going to find fine for you, even in a clearly obvious kind of thing. So protect yourself with Right to Bear. 44 million? I don't know. There's plenty of subscribers. Talk to Perry. He knows. Hit him up on Twitter. He'll talk to you all about it, and happy to do so. So listen, for JC, Mad Dog, y'all have a great weekend. We will see you on Monday.